Hey guys, Drew from the More You Nerd here to talk about our second part of our Ouya coverage, the controller. So let's jump in. Now I will start off by saying when I pre-ordered my Ouya on Kickstarter, I asked for 2 controllers. That meant that I got my Ouya at the very end of the whole process, but I think that's going to turn out for the best, and you'll see why in a second. But before we get into that, let's take a look at the controller itself. So this is your Ouya controller, and we'll look at it from all sorts of different angles. It even says so right there, in case you forget. And you've got your Ouya buttons over here. You've got 2 sticks. They're pretty nice. They're clicky, they're springy, they're good. And you've got a D-pad, which is kind of middling. One of the coolest parts about it is this little bad boy right here. This is a touchpad. And it actually has a cursor that springs up on your Ouya with like a mouse. It's pretty neat. Kind of weird, but it's cool. You've also got your lights up here, and I've got this one set as controller 2 right now because the Ouya supports up to 4 controllers at a time. Now the reason I have this set to controller number 2 is for one very specific reason, and I'm going to demonstrate it upside down. I'm going to hit my Y button, and I'll pop that out a little bit to make this easier. So these early controllers, and this is the one that came bundled with my Ouya, had a tendency to catch underneath this panel and stick down. I don't know if you can see that right there. So that your button wouldn't work properly. And that's because this whole panel pops off. Because you've got your battery over here. This panel pops off too, and there's another battery on that side. And this thing wasn't wide enough to let this button catch. Now, while I've got it off, I'll just show you. It's got little attachment points. And in here, I can't tell whether those are magnets to hold them in or not. This could loosen up over time the more you have to change your batteries. But for now, they seem to be sticking pretty well. So there may be something in there. Ouya has promised that they're going to be taking care of a lot of the issues that people are having, specifically that button sticking problem. So as I pick up my 2nd gen Ouya controller, I have yet to have that button with this. And I don't know whether it's because the button itself is out farther, but I think it's mostly that this part sits closer to the actual body of the controller. If I put this panel on this controller, I also no longer have the issue. So they're clearly working on it, and hopefully this won't even be an issue by the time it launches later on this month. Another thing they seem to have done with the new controller is the D-pad. The D-pad feels springier. It feels nicer on the newer controller. This could just be in my head. I can't tell. But it feels nicer, and it feels like something that could be used a lot more easily, especially in those games where the analog stick is not going to be as good. But that's about all we can do for a controller without actually kicking on the device. So until the next time, nerd out. Let's take a look at that Ouya.